Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video, getting towards the end of the Calamity Chaos runs. Last time we took on Milim, and that was just so much fun. Now it is time to take on the Sky Dragon, the Gale Clap Strike. This stage is kind of annoying, because you are pretty much on a time limit because of the field effect. At the start of battle, increases poison damage of all allies and enemies by 50%, and the Sky Dragon does guaranteed poison you. And, unless you're thinking like, oh, we can just get rid of that, he does seal body and spirit skills. So like the poison cleanse and the poison dodge abilities, you can't use them because they're sealed, and they're going to remain sealed pretty much for the entirety of the fight. You could use Lord's Ambition, but the problem is, Lord's Ambition with Protector Guy is not going to really enable you to do 12 million damage very easily, at least in 5 turns. Like, there might be a way to do it if you're a whale, but most people probably don't even have Guy, and so don't have that option. He's got decent attack, pretty high defense. On top of the poison, he's nerfing oranges, he lowers your attack, he gives himself guard and extra defense, poisons you, another body and spirit skill, and then starts nerfing blues just for funsies. Lowers your wind resistance, gives himself more wind attack, heals, and stuns. So he is doing a lot to make your life miserable. And there are a decent amount of space teams that can give you extra damage against wind, and we'll use a few of those. But it's not exactly what I would call fun. Alright, the first team is Divine General, because if you play your cards right, you can do the 12 million damage in 5 turns before the poison really starts to get you down super duper low. It does require that you have a decent amount of support. Maybe you don't need the light masked hero. That's fine. You could use the old masked hero, you could bring another orb changer like Vengeance Yome or something, and make your life a little bit easier. But we are bringing her, so we've got the full Divine General, Elmisia, Hero, Diablo, Gazel, Raphael, and Blanc. And the idea is that between Blanc and Raphael, 2 ults with all the stacks and all the buffs should do 12 million damage in 5 turns. So that's kind of what we're banking on. Alright, so turn 1, we kept resetting until we got a halfway decent hand. This is not 5 greens, naturally, but we can make it into 5 greens. That will have the buff from Diablo, so, I mean, it gets us to a nice starting point. And a lot of those orbs are Gazel, which means that they're now Blanc orbs. So, if you don't have Blanc, does it get a little bit more difficult? I mean, technically, yeah, sure, but you could still nuke with Raphael and probably be just fine. Probably being the keyword. But let's send 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 96 points. We can use Elmisia next turn, that's good. And then the poison's going to come in, and it's going to take off rather large chunks of damage. There's the seal right there. And now, yeah, I mean, if that happens every single turn, you're going to die by, like, turn 7. Because he's going to be doing normal hits to you, he's going to do his AoE ult, you're going to continuously take poison damage every single turn, and it's not going to be very fun. So you do have to be in some sort of a rush here, and the better the RNG you can get is the better. So again, another 5 hand of greens, not exactly what I would like to see, but it is what it is. We will definitely make use of the rewind ability from the Masked Hero though, because we just need an extra turn to get more stacks, to get more orb changes, to get more points in order to use all of the big time buffs. Plus the enamor effect means that we can pretty easily get our ults. Like, that's not that big of a deal. I'm just more worried about skill points, because we kind of need a lot. So we use the rewind, let's bring Blanc in, and actually let's take her out, because we kind of need Diablo with his multi-skill first, so I kind of did that out of order. We should have brought Diablo in and used his 20-point skill, and then brought Blanc in. But yeah, it is what it is. But more importantly, we actually have enough points to where we can get a full hand of greens here. Barely, but we can. And that's kind of important. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We're capped out on points. We've got Nelmesia. Counterattacks are not great because it's just adding to the damage and lowering your HP faster and faster. Thankfully, poison does not affect you on the rewind turn, only at the true end of a turn. And we only have to change one orb here, which is incredibly lucky. So we can actually get a few extra stacks of Raphael's synergy and ult damage. But I do want to make sure that we use Gazel's orb change a bit more, because we're going to keep using the Raphael stacks, which means we're going to keep going down in points, and I want to make back enough points to actually be able to do something on turn 5. So, one more. Boom, we're down to, what, 6 points? 5 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and it caps us out again. So that's good. We don't have a very high cap, but the fact that we are capping is better than not. So now we got an EX ult for Raphael. We don't have an ult for Blanc just yet, but we could attempt to get it. At least I don't think we have an ult for her. Well, we might actually. Hold on. No, she does not have an ult yet. So she's going to have a space buff on. Not that it matters, because we are not nuking here. Well, we have to bring you in for the ult swap, and let's take Raphael out, bring the hero in. We will already use the multi-skill, so let's use Nelmesia to reset, and then we'll use the orb changes. We'll nuke with both Gazel and the masked hero. Hero will give us extra weakness strike on her ult, which will just enhance our damage output. And then let's use the Pierce buff and hold on to that for Rimuru as well in the back. So if you have the full Divine General team, you could probably just use one ult. If you don't, and you're lacking some of the buffs, then you're going to need a bit more power, and you might need both, like Blanc and Raphael ults. Preferably EXs for both, in case, but not a super huge deal if you don't have them. But we're very close to a Blanc ult. She's getting close to half HP. Let's go ahead and ult buff here. Boom, we are going to nuke since we have almost everything active. Raphael still has the space buff and the pierce buff. Now the ult buff is applied. Now we'll bring Diablo in, use his synergy power buff, and it'll be looking pretty good. And we can just nuke right here. We don't need the Blanc ult because I'm confident that Raphael will kill, even though he's not the primary DPS character, quote unquote, right? So let's go ahead and send it, and we could do more stacks just for funzy onesies. We don't need them, but a full hand of greens and stuff would ensure that maybe if we didn't kill, that next turn we would be set for orb changing. But Raphael does 19 million there, so definitely didn't need to do that at all. But there we go. There's Divine General team. It is full magic with the free-to-play Gazel, so it's got those 2 missions done. Let's move into the physical team. Okay, we're gonna go really easy mode on this one. Warrior's Mind 2.0, very strong team. We know it can do the 12 million HP that the Sky Dragon has fairly easily. So we've brought free-to-play Xion to give us the free-to-play mission, Space Raphael for the dark buff, and then Primal Demon Diablo, Blanc, and Gobwa. 4 physical units, 1 free-to-play character, gets those missions complete, and this is just an exercise in hilarious damage numbers. And we actually get very lucky turn 1 by having Diablo here, and then getting 5 greens and a blue. We can convert that. So like we didn't bring Violet here because Violet wouldn't really do that much for us because we're type neutral, or at least Blanc and Gobble are. And so like the weakness strike stacks don't matter. The control certainly does, but we needed a little bit extra power. And I also wanted Diablo here for the orb change because I found that to be a bit more useful than whatever Violet's doing for us, because she's not really enhancing our damage by that much in this specific setting. But Blanc obviously single or AoE DPS, Gobwa single target, Raphael's doing double duty with the dark buff and the stacking ult damage. So this hand, I mean, at this point it doesn't matter. Oranges are nerfed, but it's still not that big of a deal because we have Blanc. So let's use the 70% gauge increase. So technically oranges are now nerfed by 10%. which isn't that bad. So let's go ahead and bring Xion in. Sure, why not? Because we're going to get the ults for Gabwa and Blanc next turn. So let's go ahead and use those. And we could use the extra skill point skill right here. I don't really think we need to since we're already at 74 points, or we would have been at more than that had we not used the skill itself. We would have capped out anyways. Not that big of a deal. Counterattack, okay, fine. And we just need to get the EX ults. I don't really think it matters if Gabwa's defense or debuff is fully maxed out for the 120% pierce resistance. I really don't think it matters, but I do want the EX ults, which we can probably get here. So let's alt swap again. Well, alt swap for the first time. Let's send Xion away now, because I don't want her ult in here. We'll bring Diablo or Raphael in, one of the two. And then we could use probably another stack of the alt damage, depending on our points. Well, no, I kind of want to make sure we have enough to use 2 90-point skills next turn, plus the 50. So, let's just go ahead and send this. This should get us the EX alt, even though, well, is Blanc going to get it? She only has 2 normal oranges. Never mind, she will. Underestimating the 70% buff and the extra rainbows there. We did have 4 rainbows because we did use Xion twice, though. So that is quite handy, and that probably enabled us to do everything. It's just unlucky that Blanc's orbs were none of those rainbows. So, now we're here, turn 4. We can space buff now, and then we could send them away if we really, really wanted to. I could have probably nuked now with just the Diablo and the Blanc buffs, and between the two of them, we would have been fine. But I want to do maximum damage here. So we're going to make sure that we do maximum damage. Let's get, well, okay, free points. Okay, fine, sure. Plus we need the orange buff again because it's run out. And then we'll take out Blanc for Xion. Take out Blanc. Okay, no, never mind. I recorded this yesterday? Last night? Yeah. So we use the physical buff on Blanc. So now Blanc is going to have maximum power. Gabwa will not, because she's not going to have that physical buff. She still has a dark buff, though. And then we're also going to have the actual Blanc double damage and then the dark resistance down debuff, which is very, very strong. So we'll send Xion. Her damage is not important. But turn 5... let's go ahead and properly nuke here with the probably full power. We might not actually have the debuffs, the elemental debuffs, which isn't really that big of a deal. The weakness strike, again, doesn't matter because we're type neutral. The element down, I guess it's cool, but I certainly wouldn't call it absolutely necessary. So let's bring Gabwa in for Roth. We'll use the Blanc buff. Boom, and then, yeah, so we're not going to have the extra debuffs from Gabwa, which is only slightly unfortunate, but in the grand scheme of things, not that big of a deal. So we'll use all the other buffs to get as much of the debuff as possible. We're up to 111%, so we're not that far off from Gabwa's cap. And then we'll just send 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Diablo, 382. Gabwa, 5 million. And then Blanc does 9 million damage. So definitely more than we needed. And we definitely could have made that a lot easier. But that is the mostly physical team with the free-to-play character. So we've got both avenues covered now. If you used a different team to clear the Sky Dragon, let me know in the comments. I did try and use just the straight-up Primal Demon team, and it kind of lacked damage. And we could not kill fast enough before the poison killed us. So, I mean, if you found a way to do it with the actual true Primal Demon team, let me know. But that's it from me. Take it easy, and I'll see you all later.